Welcome back to Beyond the Guidelines. So this is the podcast that takes you past the listings, past the programs, and the polished sales talk to reveal the real people shaping today's real estate world. Here we uncover the personal stories, struggles, and wins that define each of our guests, giving you a fresh human perspective on the business. I'm Jason Maxam with Creative First Mortgage, and we're on a mission to help you see the person behind the professional, because real estate isn't just about deals, it's about connection. So we've shifted a little bit today to talk about someone that is not in our industry directly, but is doing a lot of similar things that we do in terms of sales and business development. This person is the director of sales and business development for a software company. He is not only a business professional, but a very, very good friend of mine. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Chad Kirkpatrick. Chad, what's up?
Hey, Jason, man, thanks for having me on. I've been really excited watching your podcast and hearing the development of it, and thoroughly honored that you invited me to be on here today.
Absolutely, man. And you should be honored.
Don't
Well,
worry, you'll get my invoice.
that's right. That's right. Well, Chad, hey, before we jump in anything, if you want to just kind of give us a little background or a little bit about yourself, let our guests kind of know who you are.
Well, Chad Kirkpatrick from Birmingham, Alabama. I've been working in the insurance industry, PNC, for about a little over 10 years now. Like a lot of people in my insurance profession, kind of fell backwards into it. Started off with no experience in insurance, operating a independent insurance agency in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So very quickly was thrown to the wolves. Here's what it is, figure it out. My main objective was to help run this business. It was a purchase from somebody that was retiring, from another person that I knew, and they hired me to be the office manager. So to get in, to understand the book of business, what they had, how their current operations are, who their clientele was, what kind of outlets that they had, and how can we not only just maintain, but how could we increase and grow? So a lot of my professional background deals in like service, sales, marketing, customer service, relationships. So it was a very easy transition into the restaurant. I mean, into the restaurant, into the insurance industry. And I went from being a office manager of a retail agent for PNC Insurance. After a few years, one of the companies that I wrote a lot of business with and got to know their team in the home office well, got to know my marketing representative well. He approached me with a position that was available. He was moving up to more of the corporate accounts, and his Alabama position became available. I interviewed, took that position, ended up working for that company for 6 years as a marketing manager for an MGA on personal, commercial, standard, non-standard PNC. My clientele shifted from the direct insureds to agents that were both independent as well as like captive national accounts. We did Alpha, we did Country Financial, we did Nationwide, and then independents. I grew to the state of Alabama, to the state of Georgia, where I traveled regularly with thousands and thousands of agents about our products, our software, our systems, how we could help them build their book of business, round out accounts, how they could have better tracking, retention, essentially, growing their business. And then after several years there, my wife and I were fortunate to have our two boys. I just turned 49, and I have a 2 year old and a 1 year old. So traveling nonstop no longer became an option. Now I work in a different field of the insurance. I work for a company that we do insure tech. We provide the software systems for the large scale companies such as the insurance carriers, the wholesalers, the MGAs, MGUs, program managers, and then all the way down to the agent side. But at the end of the day, it's still marketing, it's still sales, it's still customer service, it's still business development, it's still relationship building. It's not about let's go in and let's make a sale. It's who are you guys? What do y'all do? Here's what we do. Where is their opportunity? Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Understanding that dynamic up front is key. And sometimes it's not no, but sometimes it's now's not always a good time. So taking a culmination of all the skills and all the knowledge and all the experience to just continue to move forwards in marketing and business development, not only for my company, but for the people that we work for and work with.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talk a lot about this, you know, just as friends, and we talk quite a bit about, you know, what we do. And we have a lot of similarities. Like I said, when we started, you know, mindset is super important. You know, we talk about being clear headed and, you know, how we execute and really what we do in business, even though we're not in the same field. I think it's really interesting how we both have to think, how we have to show up, and, you know, how to execute. So, you know, today I really wanted to talk about the things that we really talk about on a regular basis, which is clarity versus execution. And so I remember how we always, you know, we love this phrase that we tell each other, right? It's paralysis by analysis, right? And so it's like we want to make all the, you know, we want to make this perfect setup, whether it be in sales or how to go after clients. You know, we come up with this great, we want to have this perfect plan, but the reality is we're not executing that plan. And so we have to be okay with imperfect action. And, you know, clarity is super important in that aspect because we have to be mentally ready and focused, you know, to kind of pursue what we need to do on a daily basis. So, you know, I guess one of the questions I have for you is, you know, what does clarity mean to you in the context of marketing and business development on your side?
So for me, I mean, clarity, what I do nowadays is, like I said, we do insurtech software for large corporations. So that really means that we need to understand the client. We need to understand what they need to operate their business from start to finish, the entirety of the process. What are their current processes? How can we match or improve the ones that are currently working? Let's not go ahead and change the wheel. Let's not go ahead and rewrite their SOPs. Let's take what's working. Let's retain that. And can we make it better? Next, let's identify their current limitations, pain points. Everybody has problems, but it also goes back to the you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. And we
Mhm.
just accept things as they are. Now, sometimes that's just how they are, but having the ability to keep open minded and use discernment and say, yes, I do want to meet with this company, this person, this product, this software, or no, I don't. So that's one of the things that we do is we look at who they are, what they do, what's working, what's not working, how can we fix them? How can we actually erase them that they no longer exist? And a lot of times it's about helping the client to identify problems that they don't even realize that are problems because we just get so used to the problems. That's just how we do things. So identifying what's working, identifying the problems. And then also I like to take it a step further and go, okay, well, if we can do this is working, these are your bottlenecks, these are your problems, these are your fragmented systems, these are the ways that we can make it better. We already have this in place. A lot of the other companies out there, it's a very out of the box system. So you get what you get and you don't get more. If you want more, you got to go buy. And now you're back to these fragmented systems. Now you're back to a lot more overhead. We have a very all-in-one system. So I like to know what they're doing, and then what are your next goals, immediate goals and future goals, because our system has the ability to organically grow with their company. And I always tell the clients, just because we can do everything doesn't mean you need everything right now. And we truly partner with clients. And a lot of people say that, but we partner with clients because you guys are the ones with boots on the ground. Once again, we know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. But when somebody comes and says, we've always done this step one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Is it possible we can do one, two, three? And we can look at that and we're out of the box thinkers. We don't just sell products, we are solution engineers. we look at that and go, that's a dang good idea. We'll go ahead and create that and implement it. And if it's something that could or should be an industry standard, then we also release this as what we call a silent upgrade to the rest of our clients for those that want or need it. So organically, we have a lot internally, but we get a lot of feedback from our clients on the ground, and it continues to help us to grow and be better, to help serve them so they can grow and be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And, clarity for me, you have to be clear on what your customer actually wants as well, right? So like if I say to you, Chad, sell me this pen, right? Sell me this pen. Well, how do you know I need a pen? So we have to nail down on what our customer wants. And we also have to know what we can deliver, right? So what we can execute versus, the clarity on where do they need our help? And sometimes they don't need our help, right? Like sometimes we need to be clear that, hey, we may not be a good fit. And that's where I think I get a lot of my power from is, a lot of people can go online and just get some quick rate quotes, right? Oh, I can do this, I can do that. Well, if you're just looking for a rate quote, I may not be your guy. But if you need help on delivering the contract, building relationships with real estate agents, knowing who that listing agent is, and then they trust me that I can do their mortgage, right? There's extra steps to take, and knowing what your client needs, I think, is just as important. So appreciate that. So we talk a lot about AI on this show, and I know you're a big fan of AI. As a matter of fact, you kind of pushed me into the ChatGPT world, and we have all this crazy digital changes, and it's a very competitive landscape. How do you cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters? In other words, how do we stay focused and be on track with all this crazy digital landscape that's changed?
Well, I like to say prayer. Lots of prayer. But seriously, one of the concepts that I'll implement into that is, for me, what I find is the first battle actually originates in my mind. When I wake up in the morning and I go to work, what I'm thinking before I go to work, when I get there, what I'm thinking, when I start tackling the first couple of tasks, phone calls, emails, what is the battle inside my mind going? Because I've learned that there's usually two, one that says, I need to, I want to, and one that says, oh, you better hurry up, you better, but you're not going to make it. So it's this battle of self, what I call it. So my first objective is to get up in the morning, spend some time trying to be quiet. I like to do prayer, meditation, reading. You do the same. You go further. You get up. You go to the gym. You spend time outside grounding. We both do breathing techniques. We both implement a lot of things. So I think the first task is really about getting my mind set for the day. And I can do that by the day before, go ahead and documenting, okay, where am I at tomorrow when I come in? What are the things that I need to do? Getting up in the morning, getting myself prepared, ready for the day, looking at the facts. Don't just go off feelings, thoughts, opinions. What are the facts? Seeing what do I need to work on, and then what are my top three objectives that I need to do that day. Um, those are some of the things that I do, and then also I try to continue this rhythm, this pattern through the day. I will find myself working 4, 6, 8 hour blocks straight. And some days that's great. And some days I worked a whole day and I ain't get anything done. So I need to recognize when I'm becoming defocused and I can't stay on task, whether that's emails, phone calls, or just simply, my mind. But having the ability to use discernment and saying, okay, I'm a little scattered right now. I need to step back. I need to recenter myself. I need to go back to what's the game plan? What did I need to do? What have I done? Where am I? What do I need to do next?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so we do have very similar morning rituals or routines that we do. And for me, clarity is not just a moment, it's kind of a lifestyle for me. So for me to continually be better and be clear and be able to execute, I've got to do my thing in the morning. I go to the gym and do hard shit or hard stuff. Maybe I need to clean that up. I get up. Yeah.
Eat
I
the
get up in the
frog.
morning. I have to do hard stuff. Then I go home and I
Yeah.
do some reflection and I go outside in nature and I prepare my mind
Yeah.
for the day, because let's face it, we are both in a very high stress and, numbers driven world, so to speak. We have numbers to hit.
Performance-based.
We have a performance base to hit. We have goals that we need to hit. And so we have to be clear minded. And, I think doing those things on a regular basis absolutely not only helps my mental state, but it also just kind of helps me plan better and not be so anxious over things and be less stressful over things, because I'm getting ahead of my stress, right? I'm dealing with things before they deal with me. Instead of being reactive, I want to be proactive. So, and I think we have a very, very similar thought process when it comes to that. So leading into my next kind of question, but yeah, go ahead if you wanted to respond.
Yeah, but before we go down to another one, there's two other key points, because I think this is a very important question to spend a few minutes to talk about, because I mean, we're men, and men especially, men and women in this day and age, but men especially. I mean, we're biologically designed to be the warriors, to be the hunters, to be the gatherers, to be the ones to go out and do things. It's just a little more hard coded in our DNA. So we are very task oriented. We are very accomplishment identification. And that's where the battle of the mind really rages in us. I saw something on a social media video. I'm not claiming that the numbers are accurate, but it really gave me a moment to sit back and reflect. And it said that 85% of all the battles that are lost, it's not because the person failed. It's because they surrendered to the negative voices that were in their mind, and it crushed their spirit. They didn't even go. They just said, "Well, Mr. Big doesn't want to talk to me. I'm not going to call that client. He's not going to want to do this. I'm not going to go take that chance, because what if it doesn't work out?" We have the negative mindset. And the funny thing is, the more that we default into negative mindsets, biologically, we are wiring these pathways in our brain to become more and more of the default. Therefore, it gets harder to say, what if it does work out? Oh man, this is going to be great. I'm going to call this guy and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great conversation. So it is really about getting your mind prepared and then doing the hard things. You and I, we're doing cold plunges. And one of the things that I loved about it is not only that I feel that it had a lot of biological effect, but it was a mental discipline.
Yep.
When you get there and you go, I don't want to do this. Well, time to do it. When you do it, regardless of what you think or feel, that's where the benefit kicks in.
Well, the thing about cold plunges too, people don't realize, they say, oh, Maxam's doing cold plunges every morning in the wintertime. He must start getting used to that cold. Hell no, dude. You do not get used to that cold. Every time before I put my foot in that water, I'm like, what in the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is going to suck. And every time I get in, it sucks. But after I get out after a few minutes, man, it is just like complete clarity, mental clarity.
Yeah.
It's the battle of things.
Because you change your mindset.
Well, it's
we
doing
stopped
the things
going down the negative rabbit hole and started going, I did it.
Yeah, it's doing the things you don't want to do on a consistent basis. There's actually Dr. Huberman, Andrew Huberman. I love him. He's a great guy to follow, but he talks about this. Your brain actually grows in this area when you continue to do things that you don't want to do. So for example, like I go to the gym, I didn't want to do it, but now that I want to go to the gym, that part of my brain is no longer growing. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's new neuroscience that's way above my pay grade. I'm just a mortgage dude, but follow Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's awesome, man.
We'll
All
check
right.
it out.
So,
One
so
last thing. I know we got more to discuss on here, if we can. One last thing on here is a
yep.
technique. I love sharing things. So obviously, we know we can breathe, we can stretch, we can exercise, we can take breaks, and all these things. I've tried breath work for a long time and haven't really found anything that made a significant difference for me. There's one that's very popular. It's called box breathing, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. But one of them that I found that I not only myself got immediate effect, I started showing this to my wife. She does it. She got immediate effect. Now, I've got a 2 year old and a 1 year old. We both work full time. Life is chaos. There's screaming, there's this, there's work to be done, there's house chores, there's grass to be cut, food to be bought, kitchen is messy, and you just get this overloaded like stress. This box breathing technique, I'll try to do it quickly, is you inhale for 4 seconds, then you hold for 7 seconds, then you exhale for 7 seconds, and then you hold, you don't breathe in for another 7 seconds, and then you repeat. What this does is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system in your body. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which is the amygdala, fight or flight. Uh-oh, something bad's happened, adrenaline. We better ramp up. Our problem is because of our society, we're go, go, go. Our body never gets to calm down from the high intensity, high performance. The natural reaction is it goes to this, and then later the parasympathetic will kick in and actually release endorphins, serotonin, chemicals that balance this out. If we put ourselves, just like the negative thinking and the negative wiring, if we put ourselves into a heightened state of anxiety on a long term consistent level, our body struggles and cannot get back into that parasympathetic balancing out. That's why we don't sleep well. That's why we're tired. That's why we're stressed. That's why our stomach hurts. That's why we have high blood pressure. Um, looking at these types of things and implementing this has also made a huge, huge benefit to myself, my wife, some other friends that we've talked about too. So,
Yeah.
don't want to sound like one of those crazy, get by this crystal guru, but there are natural things that we can do, like exercising, cold plunge, eating right. But even certain breathing techniques, which actually biologically kick in.
Yeah.
I can go buy a pill to get serotonin, or I can do some breathing to get serotonin.
Yeah. So let's talk about the unhealthy things that we do. And I may be ask you some personal questions if that's okay.
Yeah.
We talk about this privately, but what do most people in our profession lean on? Alcohol. I made a decision to stop drinking, and this, and I know you've been sober for a really long time. So I guess my question is like,
17 years.
how long?
17.
17 years. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, 2.5 years for me, man. So actually, what's today? Yeah, next week will be actually 2.5 years that I haven't had a drink. So that's really helped my clarity. So I guess that's my question, man. Let's how was your decision to get sober? How's that changed your life, not only on the business side, but what about on the personal side?
Well, so since I'm 49 and I got sober 17 years ago, that's been a minute. And I was a night and day different person back then. There wasn't like I need to do this for my career because I didn't have one. There
Mm,
wasn't I need to do this for my wife and kids because I didn't have one. And these were the things that were causing me stress, fear, anxiety, resentment. And because I didn't have very good coping skills, I relied on things that brought me a sense of immediate relief and comfort. And alcohol was great at that
mm,
until it stopped working. But just because it stops working doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it. Even though problems are getting worse, what else am I going to do? I've tried 10,000 other things. So to me, it's like in the Bible. It's really a burial of self, died and buried, and then a resurrection of my new self. So Being 49, I'm the youngest in my family. All my parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody's gone. So the only people that know me from then to today are my direct siblings, older brother and sister. And of course, they look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're just doing so great. You're doing so great." The people that don't know me back then are my immediate people today, my wife, my children, the people I work with, my neighbors, the people I, come into contact on a regular basis. Um, and, there has been a lot of growing and learning and maturing, but it's been an amazing journey because it's the thing that I always wanted, but I could never do.
Yeah, but what ultimately made you say, "Man, I'm done. I'm done drinking.
Just
I can't do this anymore."
just where you get to the point that everything that I've tried, everything, 850 million times, and I keep getting the same results, and the results get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's that, oh, you need to change people, places, and things. So now I'm doing the same things with different people in different places. The
Yeah.
common denominator was me,
You know, my
but I couldn't see
I'll
that.
I'll share a little bit about my story. So, my body, man, the risk reward factor for me just wasn't there anymore. From how I am. I work, from dusk to dawn. I love being able to
I
produce
do.
and create things. And man, when you're hungover, you can't really get focused that way. Or when, and obviously the
Oh, you
day
mean
before.
Tuesday?
So yeah. And then the day before, like when you're drunk, you can't really get anything done. But I think for me, what alcohol did for me is it really kind of calmed the mind. It allowed me to not deal with my problems at that time. And so when I quit, I just had to relearn kind of how to deal with the problems that I already had in a healthier way.
Coping skills.
Actually, absolutely. It was coping skills. And, for me, it really was affecting our marriage. I was putting alcohol over my family. I was spending more time out at the bars and at the ball games with my friends and things like that. And, it was not only crumbling that relationship with my wife, but I was also not as efficient at work. My biggest fear quitting was, how am I going to fit in? What are people going to think of me, right? At social events and things like that. And I got to tell you, man, it is absolutely way different than what I had in my head on how my life was going to be versus how it actually is. Dude, my life is exponentially better without alcohol. I don't even miss it anymore. It was such a big part of my life. But now that I've seen the benefits of not having that in my body, it really does help my clarity. It helps my execution. It helps my family life. And it really makes me more, willing to go further and push that envelope and continue to do, big things in my marriage and at my job. So, yeah.
Well, and funny that you say it that way too, because when you go to addiction, regardless of what it is, there's a hospital and there's two main categories. You got the medical and you got the psych. Well, addiction falls under mental.
Yep.
And what did we start off talking with? The battle of
Mental,
the mind.
mental
What
clarity.
are the things that my mind's telling me, and what am I doing to cope and or accomplish?
Mm-hmm. So I guess ending on this, because I think this is a great topic, but like, what would you say to like maybe a colleague, a professional, someone who's maybe, curious on not drinking or, wants to get sober, but maybe it's afraid it might hurt their professional image or their network. What would you say to
I tell them, come on in, the water's fine. Well, what I would tell them too is, so when you look at the disease of addiction, and it actually is a disease. A lot of people have a hard time struggling with that, but I mean, the AMA, the American Medical Association, doctors, scientists, professors, psychologists have looked at this, and they have analyzed and run it through the gambit and tried pills and techniques and approaches, and at the end of the day, there's nothing they can do to treat it. Um, so what I would tell them is we have a concept of what somebody with addiction. It's always going to be the homeless guy, the brown paper bag, the 37 outfits, the fingerless gloves. But what we don't realize is that there's millions and millions of successful people that are out there in the world, but they're also suffering and they're struggling. Just like I said, wake up daily with a hangover and just every day go, all right, well, I'm just not, I'm done. I'm not going to drink today. But man, by 5 o'clock that afternoon, I can't wait to get out there. So
Yep.
there's literally millions of doctors, lawyers, priests, ministers, professional athletes, personalities, CEOs, people who founded, people who run businesses, factories, nations, that they've all been where you've been. So you don't have to go to here before you can say, I want to do something different. You can walk in the richest guy in the rooms and still leave the richest guy in the rooms. Money, possession, all that stuff, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even someone who would say, quote unquote, has an addiction, but someone who just is a heavy drinker. Also, I think this is also something that, people can relate to, because, I'm looking at, if you're looking at very highly successful people around the world and in our country, none of them really drink a lot. They don't have time to do that. And I think for
You
me,
can't.
no, you don't have, you just can't function properly. And here's one of the side effects, the positive side effects that I got out of this was I had to deal with shit I didn't want to. So now it made me, right. It forces you to deal with the things that you've been, maybe not even realizing, but subconsciously while you're drinking, you're kind of suppressing whatever emotion, anger, fear that you have. When you quit drinking, now you got to deal with stuff. Steve-O said it best.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't know. No. So Steve-O, do you know Steve-O from Jackass?
Yeah.
He said that, what was his saying? He said, I didn't realize I had a problem with alcohol until I quit. Because it's like, once you take away the alcohol, which is really the solution for a lot of people,
Right.
now you have to deal with all the crud that you've been putting off for so long. And so what I really, really noticed is then I became a better person of like dealing with conflict. I hate conflict. I want to run from it. I don't want to argue with anybody. I don't want to deal with issues. Like, my natural inclination is like, get me the hell out of here. I don't want to be a part of this. I really appreciate your insight on that, man. Is there anything else you wanted to add on just the sober life and how it affected maybe your professional life specifically? Or you said you didn't have a professional life, right? And you quit.
Professional alcoholic. Let's see. There was one thing you said, and we'll see if I can find it real quick. It's called the disease of self, um, and I said what most people have no idea about. It took me 35 years to even discover this. Is the concept of self. Not in a good way. I mean, selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. There are many times that it is blatantly obvious that someone's being selfish. I've been there. I've done that. And they don't care about what happens to other people as long as they get what they want. I'm talking about the kind of self that this is now the one that sneaks up on me, and all of a sudden I'm down in the ditch before I even realized it. I call it a ninja inside your soul and your mind that strikes with vicious and venomous devastation without you ever even knowing it was there. A saying that I love is, am I not a creator of chaos rather than harmony, even though my motives are good? I can have good motives, but selfish execution, or I can have selfish motives with good execution, but it's the same thing as saying, like, well, if everybody would just listen to me and just do what I tell them to do, then everything would be fine. And essentially, just let me be God and everything will be fine, but I'm doing it for good reasons.
Right. Yeah.
And when that doesn't work out, guess what I need?
Well, yeah. And I think it translates, for me on my, on a personal level, is that selflessness in business. What am I doing in the mortgage business? Am I trying to help somebody get into a house? Am I trying to creatively find ways to get them loans based on programs that they could potentially qualify for? Or am I doing this strictly for a paycheck? And I think one of the biggest shifts for me is, when I was growing up, people would make fun of salesmen. Like, you think of a salesman, what do you think of? You think of this dirty, car sales guy in this picture, which is really not what true sales really is about. True sales is about helping your client and finding out where they're missing or where that gap is, and being able to offer them the solution for that missing piece. So, removing the selfless or the selfishness rather of, of you internally would
How am I
outwardly
going to benefit
affect and
from this?
help other people around you. And that affects me directly in business, but then it translated all through my personal life. And I'm just really grateful that I was able to find that defect in my life to be able to, potentially help someone out there that needs help. And this is not just about sales. I'm just talking about, having a heart of help, having a heart to help other people. That changes the dynamic of everything, and it makes you a better person, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the kind of heart that we need to take, whether I'm in work mode or family mode or community mode or church mode or friend mode, or it's that heart posture that's where everything flows out of me. And what is my heart posture? Because the more I start thinking about my wants and my needs, the more I think about my wants and my needs, and the more I'm thinking about how I'm not getting what I want and my needs. So I need to think more about my wants and my needs. And all of a sudden, you become an obstacle and
Mm-hmm.
not part of the relationship. So by getting outside of myself, surrendering myself on a daily, regular basis, thy will, not my will, be done. How can I serve you? How can I serve my clients? Because at the end of the day, it's the relationships that we build that will bring our value, whether it's net worth. Our business is going to come from the referrals of our relationships. I mean, cold calling will get you so far, but you want to build that book of business. You want to build those relationships so that way when Sally talks to John, she's going to say, "You need to call Jason." They're going
Right.
to say, "Oh, you need to call this person."
And I love that word value, because, most people are chasing that paycheck. But if you try to find that value, money follows value. So if you
Yeah,
add value, money will follow. So focus on the things
yeah,
that are helpful to other people. The value you give would eventually be turned into money, at least on the sales and business development side. I've seen that
yeah.
over and over again. I'm looking for a solution
Relationship
for you.
first.
I want to give you value. I want to help you. And when I do that, I get compensated for that. And so that's the beauty of sales and business development for me. So,
Yeah.
Chad, what else you got, my man? Anything else you wanted to bring up about clarity, about execution before we wrap up the show?
I'm going to end with kind of a joke.
Uh-oh.
Wisdom and discernment are two things that I am trying to seek every day, and I'm not saying that I got it. But wisdom is knowing that tomatoes a fruit. Discernment is knowing it doesn't go in a fruit salad.
I love it, man. Well, Chad, thank you again for being on our podcast. And guys, if you found value in this, or if you want to be a part of this, reach out, give us a like, give us a follow, and we look forward to seeing you next time on our show. Take care, guys.